European Feudalism in the Middle Ages by Miranda and Brian. Today we are going to be talking about some terms, features of feudalism, the feudal system itself, roots of feudalism, fall of the feudal society, and then we'll go over a summary of what we've talked about. So what is feudalism? Feudalism, as we learn about and study feudalism in its entirety, we're confronted with complex explanations of what it means, along with some terms that were prevalent during the Middle Ages. It's a good idea to investigate a few different scholarly interpretations of feudalism and the terms used to get a better understanding of what they mean. The vernacular during this period was extensive and vastly different from today's. So it's important to familiarize yourself with some of the key terms associated with this period. The term feudalism is actually noted to be rather recent, first appearing in French in 1823, Italian in 1827, English in 1839, and lastly in German in the second half of the 19th century. Feudalism is noted to structure societies. It was seen as a formal political system. It operated on a class system and notably consisted of lords, vassals, and fiefs. Many sources also reference it as the feudalism pyramid of power. Some key features of feudalism that we're going to discuss today involve medieval castles, knights, feudal society and the class system they used, and religion. Note that we have discussed an academic approach to defining feudalism in the Middle Ages. So let's talk about these features. Castles were an important role during the feudal society. The National Archives state that the first castle was built in 1066. The earlier architecture wasn't nearly as stable as the castles made of stone we think of today and that are pictured above. This type of castle was first ordered by King William. Castles were pivotal in military strategy. They could also serve as local government headquarters. Today, you can relate it to that of a courthouse. Although castles played a practical role during the Middle Ages, they also took on a cosmetic appearance. Castles were built in various designs with lavish details and decor. This ultimately was a representation of power and wealth of the reigning lord or king. The next feature we're going to discuss are knights. Knights were a key part of the feudal time period. You can compare a knight to a military member or organization. During this time period, a lord would allot land in lieu of military alliance. Today, our military doesn't receive physical land ownership, but they are provided with allowances to pay for housing. Above, to your left, you will see the Code of Chivalry. The contract above highlights the moral code of knights in the Middle Ages. Knights were responsible for protecting their lord in the manner they were assigned. They pledged their loyalty with the oath of fealty. Next, we're going to discuss the feudal system. You will see that there are 4 categories listed above: kings and queens, nobles, knights, and peasants. At first glance, you may see or notice that it appears to be somewhat of a social hierarchy. In depth, a feudal system is a political, military, and social system of the Middle Ages based on those who owned the most land, the most wealth, or had the most power. Around the 8th century, after the fall of the Carolingian Empire and the rise of the Holy Roman Empire, you can see this system being implemented. However, after the fall of the Roman Empire, Charlemagne's Empire, and the Carolingian Empire, we can identify that there's a strong need for the development of the feudal system due to a loss of strong central government, as the region was in constant state of conflict. So in certain terms, People were in a power struggle to gain dominance. Next, we're going to talk about roots of feudalism. So we've already mentioned in the previous slide the lack of leadership and central government played a huge part in the feudal system. Next, we're going to talk about religion. Religion begins to have a stronger backing during this time. This integrates into feudalism because the key figures would use religion as a way to boost their power. To clarify, people at this time were in fear. It was a state of chaos and evil was rampant. Religion plays the role of a good guy stopping evil. Additionally, a better way to clarify is to highlight how religion played a major role in the protection of serfs. The church also penalized a number of religious offenses like heresy, sorcery, apostasy, and sexual sin. Religion also plays a role in the development of feudalism due to the concepts and power it holds. It empowered believers, giving hope, offering protection, and the removal of sins. It was a unique power to have both in a political and social sense. Next, we're going to talk about some key figures to feudalism. Now, these are not all of the figures that were involved in the rise of the feudal system. This is just a few worth pointing out. So, William the Conqueror is one of the figures I wanted to mention because he ruled both Normandy, France, and England. Because he ruled such a large amount of the land, it was impossible for him to maintain control alone, thus giving land to those he trusted. Also, Charlemagne. Charlemagne pushed back the Muslim invading force, turned Christian, found the Holy Roman Empire, and since it was a vast empire, he gave land to those he trusted, ultimately given the title emperor, and the people sought his advice and seen him as a strong central figurehead. Lastly, we're going to talk about the fall of feudalism. Feudalism ended in the 1400s. Feudalism ends due to the development shift of the economy going from a land-rich based system into a trade-based system. Also, the plague contributed by removing 1/3 of the population. People also sought themselves more as individuals rather than property, and a centralized power begins to develop. 4 key factors for the demise of feudalism include trade crusades, the movement opportunity, the Black Death, labor shortage, and then the market. So, trade crusades increased trade as a result of the crusades. And the movement opportunity basically is the rise of towns and the movement of serfs from the manor to more urban areas with more opportunity. As I previously said, Black Death also kind of prevented people from being able to do labor. So there was a shortage. The market also shifted from command economy to market economy. So we've learned a lot during the short presentation, so let's recap. Feudalism is a really tough word to define. Scholars continue to research and mold the term and what it stands for. What we do know is that feudalism in the Middle Ages goes hand in hand with many features. The presentation outlines just a few of them. Additionally, the feudal system played an important role during this time period. It was a time period when there were no centralized power and really an era of struggle. Some of the principles that founded feudalism stand true today. Here is a list of the works cited used to create this presentation.